All right, everyone, let's talk about the red card in the AFL. My name is Paul James and welcome to Hoops Crew, and we're going to discuss this topic because it's one that has been raging a little bit in the last week off the back of the Jimmy Webster incident. Now, of course, it's not the first time that it's bubbled up. I certainly think about the Gaff and Brayshaw incident from a few years ago that people were talking about it. You can probably even go back to when Barry Hall punched Staker, to some of these sort of things where they're deliberate, they're egregious acts, and they absolutely take players out of the game. Hell, I don't love it because I think it was a bit different, but even the Tom Stewart and the spicy Richmond meatball incident from a couple of years ago, where players are knocked out of the game entirely and the culprit is still out there. And off the back of this Jimmy Webster incident from the weekend and Jai Simpkin, the conversation has kind of started once again about what does it mean for the state of the game for a player to be knocked out, incapacitated, unable to continue, while the person responsible is still able to play out there. And you are hearing conversations about the red card. We're hearing about a whole range of other models. And I thought I'd take the opportunity to kind of share, I guess, my thoughts on the thing. I've spoken a little bit about the incident so far and what I expected Jimmy Webster to get, and then reflected upon what he actually got. But this whole red card idea is a really fascinating but very nuanced one from a legalities standpoint as well. So let's explore the idea in the first place of the red card, because I think that's the main one that people want to throw out there, and that's the one we need to really work through. So if a player does commit an act, and let's use the Jimmy Webster one as an example, I don't necessarily see a problem with the red card. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about the act. And like on the assumption that Jai Simpkin is not going to re-enter the field of play, and of course if he's concussed, which it's clear he was, he's not returning, then I think it's easy to go kind of like for like and take him out of the play. And I think the club with the offender should be disadvantaged if the player, they've already rung their sub and they've now got nothing, they've one player down as a result. Well, bad luck. That's another penalty that the club has to pay because of the act of their one player. Where things get complicated is in scenarios where maybe it's a little bit more congested. I think about the Sam Powell-Pepper one where obviously he made contact and it was an illegal act, but umpires might have had obscured perspectives, and so you potentially can't 100% say that he did or didn't do it. And so it's at that particular stage where it's a big call for an umpire to hold the red card and rule the player out if they don't know how it happened. It might have been a deliberate act. It might have been that the opponents put their head over the ball and charged into someone's knee, for example, and knocked themselves out that way. There's been, we rub Gary Rowan out for the fact that he knocked out Jeremy Cameron last year? There's a whole range of different scenarios here at play and different levels of intentionality in the whole thing as well, and different levels of outcome in the whole thing as well. And so I don't know. I think there probably decisions around these sorts of things probably need to be made by the ARC, and the ARC will be a feature of every single game. I think that needs to be expanded to be able to watch, explore these moments and determine what has actually occurred, where the impact has occurred, the intentionality of the act, and that might be able to guide the decision making a little bit. But I also look at things through a litigious side here, and I think about what we've been seeing more and more of in tribunal cases going forward. And as of the time of recording this, we don't know if Jimmy Webster or the Saints are going to bring lawyers in and try and contest the 7-week penalty even more, because it is quite inflated beyond what the rubric states for the MRO. But we've seen more and more legal involvement in recent years. And my thinking around this is that A, it sucks, because this is not a legal situation. These aren't real cases. This is not serious stuff. This is not assault or violent acts or abuse or a whole range of other illegal acts. This is a football action. This is a football match. We don't need legal teams involved here, but of course the clubs are so empowered financially that they can do that. And so in this era where we've got legal teams involved, you need to be making sure that if you're going to make a call on the day, that you're 100% right. And that is a challenge as well, because the right lawyer can maybe get the player off in some of these sort of scenarios. They can justify things mechanically in ways that someone behind the arc or someone out in the field with a whistle can't, in the amount of time that they've got to work with. And so if you then go and say, okay, Tom Stewart, Jimmy Webster, Barry Hall, Andrew Gaff, you're out. That's it. Game over. And not that those are all largely pretty clear cut, but if you get it wrong, and the team that the culprit played for goes on to lose as a result of their best player being just kind of ejected from, or that kind of important player being ejected from the game, that team has an argument to make. Both that, hey, you rubbed a player out that you then determined wasn't actually worthy of a suspension after the fact, for whatever reason. Of course, these are hypotheticals here. But you've taken someone off the field of play, and then only for your tribunal to say, well, actually, no, you've got no case to answer. That's a big thing, because that now has resulted in us losing the match. So what's the compensation here? And it really opens a can of worms here, because we're in a point where it's about business, whether we like it or not. And so I'm concerned about any call that goes on the field of play like that, because it's all up for discussion after the fact. It's not like the red card in soccer, where it's not necessarily about the outcome. It's not necessarily about someone being knocked out or something like that. They're obviously very clear-cut cases, but the red card can be issued for much smaller acts, and so, or a yellow card can be issued for much smaller acts, and so like there's more grey area. There's none in these sorts of cases in terms of the way that people are proposing to use the red card, and so yeah, there's a lot of risks involved. Thanks for hearing me out on this, I must say. Like, there is a lot of nuance, and there's a lot of discussion. It's going to continue to rage for quite a while, and we'll do so again when another big incident comes up, whether it's a bump, whether it's a slinging tackle, whether it's a full-blooded punch, whatever it happens to be. It's going to come up again, and it's not something that's going to go away. So the AFL definitely needs to think about it. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about the red card and the way it could or could not be implemented in the game, whether it's compatible with our game or not. Let us know in the comments. Cats fans, we're on the verge of a new season. It's exciting. Opening round is super, super close as of when we speak, and round one for the Cats is not far behind. Looking forward to seeing our boys get out there. Looking forward to you joining us for more Hoops Crew content over the course of 2024, from behind the play to Rage Danderfield and the tips, the chaps chatting Cats. We've got full enough mode and a whole bunch more. I'm going to try and do more of these little op-ed style pieces over the course of the year as well. Lots of cool stuff. Go check all of it out. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Go Cats, remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you next time. See you guys.